pretty. I just wanted to say that I'm completely humbled to be able to stand up here behind this pulpit and share this message with y'all. God has given me this message bits and pieces at a time over the past couple months, and fine arts was an experience I'll never forget, and thank you to these guys for making that happen. So let's get this started. As an American citizen, we have the right to bear arms, the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, the freedom of press, the freedom to have peaceable assembly, and the list could go on and on. But according to John 1:12, we have another right that in the society we live in today is often forgotten about and is trying to be taken away from us. That is the right to know Jesus in a real and intimate way and have a personal encounter with him. Yet, statistically, there are roughly 2.8 billion people who have never heard the gospel for the first time in their life. Those 2.8 billion people will never know about the God we serve unless someone tells them. In Romans 10:14-15 says, "How shall they call on whom they have not believed? How shall they believe in whom they have not heard? How shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach unless they are sent?" As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. First, let's consider the message. When Paul and Silas went on their missionary journey, those two men literally turned the world upside down. Paul and Silas were willing to do whatever it took to spread the gospel to the uttermost parts of the world. Most people, as I said, would think that the human right is for every citizen to be equal, which is great, but we often forget that the most important right, is for every living creature to know Jesus. Paul and Silas understood the importance of that right that was freely given to them on the cross, and that's why they went. Do you think Paul and Silas were afraid or ashamed? No, they weren't. They understood the needs of those souls that needed to be saved, and they were not thinking the least bit of what others saw of them. Next, let's consider the meaning. We need more Pauls and Silases that are willing to go to the ends of the earth and preach the gospel. Those that long to see everyone come to know of his unconditional love and equip this chosen generation for the soon coming of Christ. Matthew 24:12 says, "And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached into the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come." Lastly, the mandate. It is time to use our voices. Young people, society may think that you are quote-unquote too young and that you cannot make a difference in this world, but God says, no. I knew you before you were formed in the womb. I have called and appointed your voice to do great and powerful things. Just as we have the right to serve our Heavenly Father, so do those 2.8 billion people who have never had that seed planted into them. Henry Dunant was a wealthy 19th century Swiss banker. The Swiss government sent him to Paris to work on a business deal with Napoleons. When he got to Paris, they told him that the Napoleons were off fighting a war against the Austrians in Italy. So Mr. Dunant got into his carriage and set his horses down, galloping to the battlefront. Dunant had never before witnessed the horror of war. He was so devastated that he remained at the front for weeks, helping doctors tend to the wounded in churches and nearby farmhouses. Later, he wrote in his time of life and said, "I was aware of the intuition, vague yet so profound, that this was God's will. It seemed to me that I had something to accomplish, as a scarce duty that was destined to have fruits of infinite consequence for mankind." And that's exactly what happened. Out of his depression, Henry Dunant founded the Red Cross, which has since then saved millions and millions of lives and given relief to countless victims of war and disaster over the years. Henry Dunant may have founded a place that provides the physical blood for thousands, but the human right is for all to know the blood that was shed on the cross for them. And as Christians, it is our responsibility to go and make sure the whole world knows about that good news.